Blessed love, beloveds. This is the Divine Medicine Lady, and I've been wanting to make a video about Venus retrograde in Scorpio. I live in South Florida, and the sun is like so intense as of like 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, so you have to pardon me. I'm trying to work with this sun. So I just made a couple of posts about the whole concept of composting because I think it's really useful when it comes to Venus retrograde in Scorpio. So first of all, I would love for you to tag or send this to somebody you know who's having a hard time, because honestly, I look around me and I see people trying to make big changes and do their work, and it's really hard. And it really helps when you have context. And that's what I love about astrology, is that it really provides that context to give us an idea of what the fuck is going on. So first of all, let's do a quick review of Venus retrograde in Scorpio. Okay, so Venus rules our self-worth, our relationships, our money, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to others, our sexuality. Okay, retrograde is a time of review. It's a time of the energy of the planet being turned inward. It's a time of needing to regenerate, to grow, to reflect. Okay, and I think compost is actually like a really beautiful analogy for that retrograde concept. Scorpio is intensity, it's connection, it's depth. People who are sun in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio, Scorpio rising, when they look at you, you usually feel naked. They look straight through you. Okay, that's Scorpio energy. It has a lot of power behind it, and it also has the ability to be highly manipulative and deceptive. For every sign we have the higher and the lower vibration. Okay, so for Scorpio, the high vibration, the high expression of Scorpio is, cosmic love. I mean, Scorpio, the 8th house, we move from, kind of the first through the 6th houses of being about the personal self into the 7th house of the relationships, into the 8th house of like cosmic connection, cosmic love and union, So we wouldn't want to be here without Scorpio and Pluto in the 8th house, but it's so important that oh wow, a butterfly just came. It's so important that we're in our integrity, and that we're in the light, and that we're in a place of truth and honesty when we're dealing with Scorpio and Pluto. Because if not, Scorpionic energy and its lower vibration is the ugliest, most deceptive, cruelest energy that exists in the universe. So this is a really intense time, because not everybody is using this Venus retrograde in Scorpio in the light. Not everybody has worked with their shadow. Not everyone knows themselves in a way that allows them to be in their integrity. And so, anytime you're dealing with Scorpio, Scorpio, the best analogy, there's two analogies that I like to give for Scorpio, okay? One is the analogy of going into the underworld, right? And facing the part of yourself that you've been running from your whole life, right? So it's so liberating, so liberating. It's transforming, because when you stop running from the thing that you've run from your entire life, you set yourself free, and there's nothing but Scorpio, Pluto energy. Pluto is the planet that rules the sign of Scorpio, right? And Pluto is the planet that rules the 8th house. When you face your shadow, and you face the parts of yourself that you denied, that you repressed, that you ignored, that you blamed, that you judged, when you face those parts of yourself, you really set yourself free, and it's such a liberating, powerful process. It's like the path of awakening, and so that's one amazing aspect of the Scorpionic energy. The other amazing aspect of the Scorpionic energy is like the vulture, which ironically actually also connects with Venus. So, as some of you know, part of my journey as a kind of spirit medicine woman is that I had one of the Yoruba deities come to me starting about 6 or 7 years ago, and her name is Oshun, and she came to the New World through the West African slave trade. And she is like the Yoruba, Nigerian, West African version of Venus, okay, Aphrodite. And of course, the African expression is going to be extremely different from the European Greek, okay? But so I'm telling this story because I think stories are important. That's why I'm telling you this story. So part of my journey of coming to know her and her making herself known in my life is that for about a year I lived in this house that had this it was kind of on the border of a forest, and it had this really old dead tree. And every day when I would come home from work in the afternoon, a massive flock of vultures would fly into the backyard literally as I arrived. And you know, to be honest, it was like pretty eerie because it's like, you know, vultures, like who wants to be around vultures? Most of us don't. It kind of freaked me out, and they would just sit there the whole time I was home. They would be there at the house, and it was usually like 16, 17 of them, 15, 14. And there's so much more we could talk about with vultures, but right as I was leaving that house is when I discovered that the vulture is the other animal totem of Oshun, the other one being the peacock, which of course, you know, everyone wants to love the peacock, but everyone wants to shame the vulture, okay? But the vulture is the energy of transmutation, you know? The vulture is the one that takes the dead and turns it into life, turns it into its sustenance, you know? So we have to honor the medicine of the vulture. And that's really what Scorpio is about, you know, is taking the dead and turning it into new life. But we can't turn it into new life if we hold on to it. So one of the things I want to talk about is, like, I really want to invite you this week to go into a place of meditation where you ask your higher self, you know, and you ask your heart, and you ask your guides, and you ask your ancestors to illuminate, to show you the places inside of you that need to be composted, you know. This is a really profound time, this Venus retrograde in Scorpio, and we're coming up to the full moon in like 3-4 days. And this full moon is in Taurus, you know. This full moon is about, you know, our self-worth, about our worth, about how much we have been able to shed the pain and the shadows of the past to love ourselves, you know. So I really want to encourage you over the next 4 days to do some really deep meditative work, you know, to work with your shadow, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in this video. But I want to invite you to go into that deep meditative place, and I want you to ask all of the energies that I just spoke of to show you the parts of yourself that do not serve you anymore, okay? It's so important that we do that, because the thing about Scorpionic energy, the thing about Pluto, the thing about the vulture, the thing about the underworld is that if you don't face these things that need your attention, then the universe will force you to see them and deal with them, right? And then you can become the victim rather than the agent of change. And this is what's so important, is for you to claim your healing journey, you know, and to become an active participant in your healing. You know, I went through, what is today, Sunday? What was that, Tuesday night? It was either Tuesday or Wednesday night. Tuesday night. I went through the most intense energy healing, spontaneous energy healing I've ever been through. Never been through anything like that before. I processed an energy that fucking kicked the fucking shit out of me. I thought I was going to die, okay? That's Scorpionic energy. My spirit, my body processed an energy that didn't serve me, you know? Now, personally, I believe that that energy wasn't just mine, but the truth is that you can never blame something on just someone or something outside of you. You know what I mean? If you attracted it, if you brought it into your field, if you received it, that means there was something in you that pulled it in. And that's how I claim it. You know what I mean? I'm not a victim, and I don't choose the path of the victim. So in this journey right now that we're in with this Venus retrograde in Scorpio and Venus squaring Mars, and I mean, I'm not going to get into all the planetary aspects because there's so many right now. I shouldn't say there's so many. There's a few really intense ones, but I really want to focus on the Venus retrograde energy. So here's the thing, right? In the process of growing up, in the process of living, we develop these coping mechanisms, right? We develop these parts of ourself that stem from, generational trauma, that stem from being wounded, that stem from feeling not good enough. And then we develop these ways of sort of coping in the world, of feeling okay in the world, of managing anxiety and depression and fear, and and then these things become a part of ourself. But just because they become a part of ourself doesn't mean they have to stay a part of ourself, right? So a lot of us, we might intimidate other people as a way of coping and managing anxiety. We might shame other people. We might be passive aggressive with our needs and our energy. Sorry, there's some really beautiful birds flying around here that are catching my attention. We might have a pattern where we don't voice our needs, right? And then what happens? We get resentful, we get angry, we get passive aggressive, or we blow up, or we leave the friendship, or whatever it is that happens. We're not in our integrity with ourselves or with others and how we're dealing with our emotions. Those are just a couple of examples. Maybe we have a tendency to be deceitful in a way that that we don't fully own. I know I did. I know I had a way of being deceitful with my language that I could easily justify to myself. But that shit was deceitful. It wasn't maybe blatantly deceitful, but it was kind of like, oh, maybe you left out 5% of the story. But how important was the 5% of the story? It was important. So, and that relates to my Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. That's another aspect I really encourage you to look up right now. Black Moon Lilith is the aspect of the divine feminine that's been repressed. She's the aspect of Venus, of the divine feminine. She is the first wife of Adam, who refused the patriarchy, who threw off the shackles of oppression, and she left Adam, right? And she went to live on her own as the wild woman that she was. And as a result, she was persecuted. She was cast as a like a child-eating monster, by the patriarchy, by Christianity. So now Black Moon Lilith, the repressed divine feminine in all of us, and not just in women, because the divine feminine exists in all of us. Now the divine feminine is what? Finally feeling safe enough to what? Hold on a second, I'm gonna bring this just a little bit closer. Finally, the divine feminine is feeling safe enough to begin to be honest, to begin to rage, to begin to express, to begin to scream, and that's a big part of what's going on right now. And Black Moon Lilith is conjunct or next to the planet Mars, which is like the very unrefined, impulsive masculine. They're next to each other in the sky, and they've been together now for a couple months. And they're in Aquarius, the sign of the free spirit, the sign of the kind of the rebel, the I don't give a fuck kind of energy. So look, if you go to astro.com and you look up your birth chart, okay, there's a place on there where you can select objects, and if you select Black Moon Lilith, you can see what sign it's in, or you can get a mini reading with me. I think right now I'm offering mini readings for $25. I don't really like to do mini readings because I like to get in depth with people, but if you want me to help you look up and look at some specific aspects in general, and you don't want to do a full reading, or you can't afford a full reading, I can help you with that. But look up the sign of your Black Moon Lilith. It's extremely illuminating, okay? It's like the part of you that exists in the shadows to the point where you never realize that about yourself. You're like, damn, that shit's fucking, it's a little scary and crazy because, yeah, you just named that. You just nailed it on the head. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, back to Venus retrograde in Scorpio. This is a time to do your shadow work. This is a time to stop running. This is a time to turn around and look at the parts of yourself that you fucking need to deal with. This is a time when, if you keep running and if you continue to be stubborn and ruled by fear, you're going to become a victim to the healing process that is going to take place in your life regardless. You can't avoid it. You know what I mean? This is what we came here to do. So if you keep trying to avoid it, you're going to be victimized by it. So don't be victimized by it. You know, become the leader of it. Become the participant in it. Become the lead healer at the healing center, which is your life. So I love the analogy of composting, right? Because we can take that passive aggressive pattern, you know, and we can say, you know what, Great Mother, Great Spirit, I'm surrendering this to you. I don't know how I'm going to let go of this pattern. I don't know how I'm going to shift this pattern. I don't know how I'm going to come into the light when it comes to dealing with my emotions and voicing my needs and being honest. But I'm giving it to you, God, and I'm telling you that I'm surrendering it. I'm letting go of it. Do a little ceremony in the earth. And like two posts back, I showed you guys a little spot in my garden that I've been really composting. You know, every day, instead of throwing my tea leaves in the trash, I take it and I put it out here in my little garden. And I'm fertilizing the ground. And that's what we're doing right now, you know. We're taking the old parts of ourselves, we're giving them to the earth, we're giving them to the Great Mother, and we're turning the old into compost to fertilize the garden that we're growing, that we're planting next, that we're coming into. You know, we can't find anything new while we're holding on to the old. So I'd love your thoughts, I'd love your reflections. I'd love to know what parts of yourself you are letting go of. I might run a little promotion for Venus in retrograde for a full session. Right now I am offering a 1-hour Venus retrograde session where we're just really looking at Venus and Scorpio retrograde, you know, where it is in your chart. But I might run a promotion on full readings. So let me know if you're thinking about getting a reading, and if you know, if money is an issue for you, I'll see what I can work out. But yeah, I think that's really what I wanted to say. That's really what I wanted to say about this Venus retrograde in Scorpio. It's a really powerful time. It's a really powerful time to activate the healer within. You know, healer, heal thyself is a really beautiful phrase, and it means that, you know, to really step into your potential as a healer, you have to heal yourself. And in order to heal yourself, you have to admit the parts of yourself that are wounded and that have been in your shadow. So I made a video sometime recently about working with the shadow, but, you know, shadow work is really about taking the parts of yourself that you've ignored and bringing them to the surface, putting them in the light, making an altar to them, working with them, asking your ancestors and your guides to help heal the parts of yourself that have been in the shadow, the parts of yourself that you've repressed, that you believed were wrong or inappropriate. That's what shadow work is about. So anyway, another beautiful butterfly, black and yellow. Anyway, beloveds, it was so nice to be with you, and thank you for watching this video. And for those of you who I haven't met, I hope to meet you in a reading soon. And those of you who I will never met, bless you. And just sending lots of love and blessings and gratitude to each of you.